Cynthia just came out with her second book this year, Savannah Seas, which is really wonderful. And it's so cool to see how prolific of a writer you are. It's very inspiring. You've had book launches and book signings and all of this cool stuff. And you still have time for your podcast every month where you interview amazing, wonderful, very cool people from all around the country, all around the world, and share their stories with all of us. So without further ado, pass it over to Cynthia.
Woohoo! Thank you, Eric. You're so good and so sweet. Ooh, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm so excited because today we have Adora Crystal Evans, and she is amazing. I've known her in person with hugs and kisses and everything for a couple of years now. We did an event on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. So she's going to tell you all about that. And she has been doing this, I think she was born. She just has a natural effervescence that comes out. And she is a queen that works like a worker bee. I have seen her in action. She is freaking amazing. And we will do our chant before we get going with Adora, because it goes, you are amazing. I'm amazing. We are amazing. So join in now. Ready, Eric? Ready, Adora?
Yes.
You are amazing.
Amazing.
I am amazing.
I am amazing.
We are amazing.
Amazing.
Now we have the amazing Adora. Yes, yes, yes. And we're just going to start with you telling us a little bit about you and your background, because most of us on the East Coast don't really know you, and everyone should.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So, I'm 45 now, so I feel like even at 20, I lived
45 now?
Yes, yes. I feel like
No way.
So young. I feel like even at 20, I lived a lot of life. So when I get that question, tell us about your background, I'm like, okay, where do I go? Where do I begin?
Got my pen out, I'm going to take notes.
Yeah. So I could just say I'm a Southern girl. I grew up on and off Air Force bases most of my life. I have family, military family, parents, grandparents in the military, farmers. And so lately I've really been loving leaning into my Southern roots. So little things like, instead of drinking out of big, gorgeous goblets, which I really enjoy sometimes, I've been drinking out of jars because it reminds me of my grandma pickling things. Or, I spent all of my teens like burying and trying not to say the word y'all, or, and stretching to Hollywood and all the glamour. And now I'm like putting on cowboy boots and flexing my best Yellowstone outfit. So there's some of the background. At 15, I had first, some people like to know that at a very young age, I started living outside of my home. So I lived on my own for a little bit at 12, lived on my own with friends at 15. I was drinking Mad Dog 2020 at 8. That is not an advertisement. I don't drink at all. But I definitely don't recommend that drink. And so 15, I had a spiritual awakening, which was huge for me. It was the first time I had a definite purpose, a relationship with Christ, a relationship with something bigger than myself. And it became the most important relationship of all, my relationship to God, to this higher, and some people say infinite intelligence, God, universe. I've called it every name. And sometimes I was so confused. I'd be like, in the name of Jesus, Madonna, Prince, and anybody who's whatever the highest truth name is, but that became a really, really important grounding point. And then around 18, I was living in a boarded up home with no electricity. I'd already been divorced. I was the town scandal. I was supposed to say prayer at graduation. And instead, on April Fool's Day, not on purpose, I ran away with another guy in the middle of the night, specifically to burn. I had a runaway bride syndrome. I didn't realize that's the closest thing I can. I still had some things to go through. So I'm living in a boarded up home at 18. No electricity. And I had my second big awakening, which was my entrepreneurial awakening. So instead of paying for electricity, I bought an Herbalife distributor kit, which I'm no longer an Herbalife distributor, but I found inside of that distributor kit a cassette tape by a guy named Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn sold me on, he basically, in this room that was dark, you know, his words came in and it felt like another just pulling me forward, because he said, look, we're all headed on this journey. You're going to arrive somewhere. It's like a metaphorical sailboat. I'm paraphrasing this completely, but he said, you're going to arrive somewhere. And if you don't like where that, or if you want to know where it is, look at your family, look at your past, and I just gave you guys, man, you have 18. It was already like, what? It's like an episode of Shameless, right? It's like, it was really, so I was thinking, this is not good. I've even screwed it up with God. I was supposed to be a pastor's wife, and now I'm like, you know, an adulteress. So but he said, the good news is, if you don't like where you're headed, all you have to do is set your sail in a new direction, and then it may take you longer to get there, but if you just keep headed. And he said, so I'm like, I'm so energetic now. Imagine at 18, I'm like, oh my, you know, all this hope and optimism. And then he said, you got to find mentors. And I'm like, oh, totally defeated again, because I was living on every second. So this was an emotional roller coaster. You know, those moments where time expands and you're hanging on every word. And it's like this emotional, or a great movie where you're like, yes, no, don't do it. This was that for me, this moment. And then he said that if you couldn't find mentors, the library was full of them. And so I remember thinking, if I can ever write a book and inspire someone, or speak the way he's speaking and lift the way he's lifting me, that would be amazing. So it was a major point. I listened to Personal Power, Tony Robbins. Right after that, got on this, sold on constant and never ending learning. And, you know, it was like, all right, now this rocket is taking off, right? Like everybody. And it was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It was more like now I could see it was like the stock market on the rise, I like to say, but I really believed it was going to be all up. So it's very disappointing, you know, when I would have these moments of back down. And then the third major milestone moment, and then I'll pause and bring it all together. But the third major milestone moment was, okay, I get married again. Have a beautiful son, saying scriptures over my body, completely painless, laughing when he was born. No, it was really beautiful. So I'm off to the races again. And then we start having challenges, and I go from stay-at-home mom to jazzercise instructor, which remind me of the woman who founded that, and Cynthia, to working in a men's club and divorcing and thinking I'm going to be there just to get the money to get a divorce lawyer, retainer. But then I get there, I see the dancers are making way more. And before I know it, I'm in this cycle. Even though I was reading all the books, sending half my income to my siblings, having them play cash flow I told you, an episode of Shameless, right? I did warn you. but so
wow.
I'm in there, and I'm doing my, you know, I'm reading all these books, I'm visioning, I'm even using sales skills, I'm reading Og Mandino, I'm doing all this stuff, you know, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted to stay. But I now know that I had some subconscious beliefs from childhood that my value was in my body. And I couldn't just get myself, my brain, you know, there's the conscious and the subconscious. My subconscious still had some deeper beliefs that just weren't as much as I was affirming, you know. So then I had this breakdown experience. I was expecting someone to mentor me. That did not go well. He did something that was traumatic for me. But that breakdown experience, I'm sure both of you have had those, and anyone watching, and if you are in the comments, breakdown to breakthrough. It's those breakdowns where you go, okay, enough is enough. Sometimes it means enough of this relationship, enough of this not writing the book I promised myself I'd write, enough of this bad eating. I'm finally going to do XYZ, fill in the blanks, blanks. I guess there's several, depending on, because all of us are listening. So this was one of those moments for me. And I did two things. I signed up for Landmark Education, and I wrote down that I just want to believe that I can earn this type of money without dancing, and I still love to dance, not so much with the poles, but I didn't even, but I wanted to believe that I could earn income, and I didn't see college for me. I tried network marketing and I wasn't really winning there. I had some successes, but not. So that was the main thing that I wanted out of Landmark. And then the second thing I did is I read Think and Grow Rich, because back then all of the books had a list in the back of what book they suggest you read, and Think and Grow Rich was on all of those lists. And so I wrote down, I was wild and naive, definite purpose. I still sometimes I'm like, I'm not just writing a paragraph. I have an hour of my identity recorded. It's like my prayers, my purpose, who I'm being. And I kind of but one of the many things that I wrote down is I thought, wow, this Napoleon Hill guy, he interviewed all these amazing people and it seemed to really work out for him. And he helped a lot of people. I would love to be able to interview people like he did, successful people, but be paid for it. And someone else that I met in that same club didn't know that I had written that down or, really, but just called me, and it felt out of the blue, like the blue behind you too. Or that blue Napoleon Hill book by Don Green back there, right? You've got one of those too, I think, Cynthia, right? Yeah. So he called and said, look, there's a job I had in my 20s. They're hiring. It gave me an incredible skill set. I can get you the interview. I think you'd be great. You're going to have to pass all the psychology tests. And I had watched this guy go from a little apartment to a multi-million-dollar company. So I didn't ask any questions. I was just like, went and bought an Ann Taylor suit, tried to put my makeup on really dark and look very mature, buried that I'd ever been a dancer. And I got the job. And the job.
How old were you now?
Then I was about 23. So the job was as a producer on the Discovery Channel for Pat Summerall Productions. And the process was that I had to call CEOs who were revenuing over $10 million a year and interview them all day. That's what I was doing all day. And I wasn't even done with this book, Think and Grow Rich. I wasn't even done with it. I wasn't even done. And so
that's amazing.
It's what, so, shortly after I went to the first leadership certification there in the foundation. So I met Don way back in 2003, and that opened this whole journey. And that kind of backstory, even though I've done a ton of stuff since then, I got to work with a designer who dressed Prince and walk red carpets and dressed Rihanna and Katy Perry. And we were the reason the peace signs flooded the red carpets, and Walmart even again back in 2006. I got to work with so many. I lived in Egypt and was a senior writer for Fashion and Art magazine. I interviewed all their celebrities, so many things. And now, producing the events that you attended, one of them that you attended, and now the work that I do with the Napoleon Hill Foundation and all this other stuff. But it kind of ties it all together, right? When you know the backstory, you're like, no wonder she's wild about this work.
It's amazing. It is amazing. Wow. So what do you want to do next? I mean, what's going on in your business like right now? Is it, you have your own company now, ACE?
Yeah, Ace Production. So you see Adora Crystal Evans. That's my
perfect.
Born name.
Don't forget that, ladies.
I like to work the Ace in there. So that's
And
that is.
you're an ace, but she's really a queen.
Thank you so much. So are you a queen knows a queen, right? We've all got our kingdoms and queendoms. Yeah, so I have the production company where we produce events and virtual, in person. I recently took a role with the Napoleon Hill Institute, which is the coaching division of the foundation, the coach certification division for the US territory. And then we locked arms with Russell Brunson and Justin on the Secrets of Success Study Club. So, and then even this wasn't, I mean, it is, I guess, ultimately planned, but we planned this cruise with the Divas. So I'm a host on Destination Divas, and I executive produce once every season, sometimes twice, when we do the show around a mastermind. And so we already had planned the Napoleon Hill Mastermind at Sea before these other two things came to be. So all things, it seems like in the cycle and in the energy of the planet right now, I think that there's a big call for Napoleon Hill's works and these deeper, older principles and a deeper study. I think there's a huge call for community. And this is going to be random, but truly what I believe. I also think there's a huge call for people living in like miraculous signs, wonders, acts. I feel like that's coming, like in Christian places and metaphysical places and Joe Dispenza camps. I think we're going to start seeing more people experiencing things, and that's purely my opinion, right? It's purely my opinion, but those things excite me. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about a cruise, because we've got a cruise. When is this cruise?
January 11th through the 15th.
January 11th through the 15th. And where are you going?
We're going from Miami to some spots in Mexico. Yeah. When is your cruise?
We're going to discuss that later.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Because this show is all about you, Your Majesty.
Oh,
yeah. What makes your heart sing? What else are you working on in this business area?
I mean, that's a lot, Cynthia. Let me tell you, that's a lot because we have shows and when you've got this many moving parts, or like big moving parts, coordinating, okay, now we're doing this launch with Russell and Justin, now we're doing this cruise, and now we're doing it. It's a lot of fun for me. And what I really, really love, the inside, inside the inner circle. Yeah, what I really love is what's happening for people. So I love, you asked me what makes my heart sing. So several things come at one time. I'm going to try to bring them one at a time so it doesn't sound like gibberish, right? So we can translate this into the atmosphere. So I think there are a lot of amazing leaders, teachers, helpers, healers, coaches out there. Like you, Eric, if you're in this atmosphere, I'm certain that's like you. And what I'm really loving is how much people are collaborating and being drawn back to community, the calling to understand what it is to play team at new levels. So not just play team with the people who work for and with you, but big leaders playing team together, which is a whole other thing when they've been out there solo, awesome brands, standing alone, learning the dynamics of how do we do this, and the benefits are outrageous. And I love how people are finding within that, and we're finding new ways to have everybody win. So like everybody gets to be queen, everybody gets to be king, everybody gets to have their moment. And it works. Now it's bumpy because I don't think we've done it like this in a while. I don't think we've played community so much in a while. And so my little daughter's looking at me. She's not little, she's taller than me, but
How old is she now?
12.
12.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
wonderful.
I'm loving that. I love, and I get really excited when I can see a place where people can collaborate or connect, and I can see clearly the vision that each person has for themselves, or at least I have an understanding of it. And I can see how I'll make it. She wants me to make banana pudding. She's holding up the vanilla wafers. It really makes my heart sing when I can see how everybody can get their vision, and then I'm able to mediate that, and it starts going, and people are feeling alive, and then they start making place for all the people they serve, right? So I'm fortunate to work with a lot of people who are about contribution and the elevation of humanity, that are really sitting around thinking, how do we solve hunger? How do we solve world peace? How do we solve marriages? How do we solve wealth for our communities? And that's just awesome. I mean, that's just so awesome. And so that this whole thing is a vibe that's happening on the planet right now, I think.
Whew. I have so many questions. Let me see, which way do I want to go? Let's just start with, how do you manage this? What's a typical day? What do you do first? Because then I'm going to go back to, so you just did a really amazing one with Les Brown in August. I remember you talking about that, and you had some, so tell me about how that one started.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little sip of water, little
Okay.
drink. All right.
Cheers. I'll join you.
Cheers, darling. We were dancing
you, my
before,
queen.
so to you. If you're watching, hydrate with us. Hydrate with us.
Actually, Eric, hi, Eric, says there's so much abundance in the world. Finding our definite purpose is a beautiful cause. I just started listening to the Laws of Success in the Secrets of Success community.
Woo, 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 woo. So awesome.
And yes, the vibe is just amazing, and more people are catching on, and we have to bring everyone in step by step, because it just makes the world a kinder, nicer, happier, more productive, more fulfilling, more joyful place to be. But meanwhile, back to you and Les Brown.
Well, so Les has been in my world for a lot of years, but recently, I guess in the past couple of years, we've had more interaction because of some of the ways I was looking to honor Dennis Waitley, who's 90 years old and has been a mentor of mine before that video that you watched. And so I was doing the first half of the year, I spent a lot of my events dedicated to raising money for a shelter in a center out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that intercepts and helps rehabilitate children and women from child trafficking and from trafficking, period. And so it really had my heart and my guts, like all the beginning of this year. And when I say it had my guts, it's just like when something's got you and it just won't let you go. And it took my courage. It took me learning how to be with, I'm a person, I love positivity. I love lifting a room. I love elevating a room. I love energy in a room, right? And I've spent a lot of years directing my focus, and I can also be pretty empathetic. So getting a muscle for looking at something that was so dark is a dark topic and really needs love and healing, while holding my joy and vision and vitality. It really took a lot. And I'm so grateful, because I gained a muscle, I gained courage, I gained getting up again, I gained, just having a deeper emotional intelligence or range in my intelligence. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. I didn't think I needed to do that before, but it was definitely a season. That was a season. I'm still supporting that cause, but it was like something I really needed to walk through to be able to make a difference. Because a lot of times whatever the cause, child trafficking, whatever the cause that is just hard to look at, we do our part and then go, okay, now I'm going to go over here and be happy. And the thing about that is that the things don't get solved that way, right? Because we're just giving it, and it's understandable. It's hard, and we got to go create our own vision, our life. You got to fill your cup so you can pour out, which actually I think volunteering is a great way. Anybody can fill their cup and start to keep that compassionate, generous heart. But yeah, so Les Brown, that was the finale of what I thought was going to be 1 month. I thought January, we're going to start the year. We're going to fund this whole shelter. We have all these. I had Hoist Gracie and Vanderlei Silva and Chell Sonnen, which are all UFC fighters that are famous. I didn't know all their names before so I thought, and I'll be done, and then on with the year. And it was not like that. It had to keep, and my guts just would not let it go. I had a business mentor that was saying, okay, back to your business. But I really felt in my heart that I was called to that, and that I needed to lead the year with generosity, and that God is the word that I use, would provide a ton of prosperity. And the first half of the year, I was like, hey, where are you at? Like, what happened? What happened? And I definitely had some moments, and those moments I'm so grateful for, because it's, again, courage, faith. And so the event with Les Brown, we did in Atlanta. It was to raise more money for the shelter. And it was incredible. I really focused on having people feel seen, heard, connected. My team, I had an incredible team. They focused on it. I focused on how does the team feel about this event, and we were a vibe, right? We were a vibe, and people, said it was one of the best events they'd been to in years, and it was really gorgeous and a privilege.
How did you find this particular project?
So because of my own childhood at 17, if you asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up at 17, one of the things I would say is I really want to help girls, especially girls who've been sexually abused, because I had experienced that in my life. So I always had a heart for contribution in that area. So much of my own healing has been about coming to Louise Hay, coming to feel safe in my body, loving my body. So it really moves me. And there's a woman who is so cool. I'm like energy. My daughter's more graceful. And then there are people that are just like, they're just cool. They're just like Joe Cool. So there's a woman who is like that. When I think of her, I think she is just cool. She helped the UFC go from millions to billions by telling their stories through filmmaking. And even before that, her and her husband helped change laws in Brazil for animals, because they did a documentary with different celebrities and bringing awareness to what was happening. So she is super heart-centered, covered in tattoos, always with UFC fighters, just in the coolest Nike shoes or whatever, just cool. Her whole family, they're filmmakers, young kids, super cool. But we had done some events in the past where a company that she was the marketing arm for, the CMO, I was on their event, and I helped them I helped guide them through producing an event. It was with Kevin Harrington and all these different people. So we knew each other from there because she was making all those graphics. And she called me and said, look, I'm doing better than ever. I've, 4 or 5 big companies that she's the CMO for, but my heart is really breaking over this cause. And you're the first person I thought of when I figured out what I want to do. And her vision is entrepreneurial activism and, bringing in the big brands and big names and then taking more of the money and having it go to the efficient, proven nonprofit movements that are supporting ending child trafficking or healing from that here in the US specifically. And so I just bought in immediately. I was already, before she called, in this spiritual place where I was contemplating fire, the fire element, the Holy Spirit fire, and the questions of like, what makes me angry? What makes me passionate? What am I on fire about? The fire of my metabolism or the lack of it at that moment, but all the fire questions and the timing of her calling, because I always saw her as like, every time I ever heard her speak, I heard her speak about child trafficking before. I get this vision in the Matrix when they're in the cave and they're like doing are you ready? Every time I'm just like, I feel like a warrior around her.
You're a warrior.
Right. And so when she called,
warrior,
representing that and then offering and opening this door, it felt divine. It felt into, so while I'm a worker bee, I'm an absolute action person. I really rely a lot on my intuition as well and my connection to flow, to God, to what's happening. And it was super, super divine.
Wow. And where are they now?
So Project Uprise is still going. I just sent a message to her today. We have a couple things going. One, the coaches at the Napoleon Hill Institute, they're going to all in the US. We have a year theme where in order to graduate, they'll do something for this cause, volunteer-wise, either fundraising, volunteering, something like that. I'm still setting up collabs with Project Uprise with bigger companies that want to do things like that. And one of them is a company here in Dallas called Rescue Her, where they rescue and rehab and put women mentors with people who've been rescued. And we're about to do a clothing drive. So I see Project Uprise. Right now, everything's Napoleon Hill, and there's this huge, massive wave between Russell and the coaching and all that's happening. But through that wave, I see us doing a lot with Project Uprise, with other companies that, want to partner and get behind helping.
So how would other companies join in on this?
Yeah, so Project Uprise, I can give you the link after if you like.
Just tell Eric, he'll put it in the chat. Just tell him.
Okay. Well, let me look on Facebook or.
Oh, that's okay. You can add it later.
Yeah. Then I'll add it later. I mean, you can look up Project Uprise or We Are Project Uprise on Facebook. You'll see a really cool logo. Sometimes I have something in here that looks like this. And you can also private message me on Facebook is really good. I love voice memos and the ability to see who I'm talking to and kind of understand. And I can connect you with Livia specifically. So the kind of collaborations, or if you have an event and you want to donate a percentage to the shelter, or you want to find volunteer opportunities, or both, that's if you represent a nonprofit that's vetted, that is really doing great work in the rescue, rehab, interception, mentoring, skill training, any of that stuff, then we also love collaborating with you guys, because then our job is like, okay, we have these volunteers, they just want to know where to go, right? Or they want to know what to do. So we help matchmake.
So
thank you, Eric.
So many relationships And just think, if you are looking for something to base your company on for 2024, these children need us. They need us. And they all need to know how to swim too. We're all about them learning how to read and swim.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes,
My
yes,
daughter's
yes.
on the swim.
How, with all of this going on, Adora, how do you balance your professional life and your family life? Because I know it's very important to you.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to take a little drink. Cheers.
Cheers. You got your
Eric,
water?
raise your
I got my
bottle.
water.
Yeah, cheers. So this has been a dance, the balancing. And I'm constantly, or I shouldn't say constantly, but I refine my system at different times, but I have some core rhythms that help keep me on track. One major thing is collaboration with other people, with teams that are doing things, right? So if I had to do all that stuff by myself, it definitely wouldn't work, but it's these different teams pulling our resources, and it really makes things we can do lots more together when we're doing that. So that's one. Another thing is I wake up early. I wake up most days, some days 4, some days 5, it's in there. And I have my own kind of process of what I read, what I'm looking at, just quiet time, reflection time. And then the weeks that I have my daughter, the day gets broken up a little bit differently, but the mornings almost always look like my quiet time. If I have my daughter, I'm taking her to school, and then there's a workout time. And in my workout time, even I'm listening to either my manifesto that has all the who I'm here to be, do, what I'm creating, what I'm seeing, what I'm visualizing, the prayers for my community, how my words impact, all the things, or I'm listening to New Calm and the Tony Robbins gratitude stacks and the certainty. So I'm priming my state. And then when I come back, I have a period of time that I call focus time. I learned that from a mentor of mine, where I focus on what is the one thing that I that will really move the needle in my business right now that I say is very important to me. And a lot of times that's like writing the book or writing the presentation that is the last thing I want to do, because don't want to sit down with slides all day and think through the psychology of a story or whatever, right? Or it's something major that's important, but really I do better in focused cave. So I'm not a multitasker. I'm very happy. I've probably have started multitasking more than I'm like trying to, focus more, multitask less. So I do well with, now there's that block. And then I'll start looking at messages, because once I jump into a message or a conversation or an email, my brain goes somewhere else. And there's no going back to meditation or prayer, or worship, or any of that, which I probably have lately a good 3 to 5 hour. I mean, it's why I wake up even earlier, just my own spiritual conditioning. I'm a geek. I get done reading and I'm like, man, it's already 9. It's time to go work out. Like I'll push it sometimes to it's 10 a.m. I've been at this since 4. I even messaged Dr. DeMartini, because I know research is one of his top things too. And I was like, hey, Dr. D, how long do you research? Because I'm thinking I need to rewrite my dream life, because I'm like wanting to stay in my cave. And he was like, I'm always researching, even if I'm talking with someone, I'm researching how they behave and how they answer. And I was like, ooh, good reframe. But he said, but when I'm not, some days, he said, a lot of days it's 3 or 4 hours. Some days it's 12 to 15. I was like, in that moment, I was like, that sounds so good. So good. That's where I said, Eric and Cynthia, I'm as introverted as I am extroverted. So because of that, that focus thing that I need to do, that workout, the workout gets me moving. The focus thing gets whatever my major thing that I may just keep putting off because it's not as fun, or I get, engaged in conversations. I focus on that. And then I have my calls, my meetings, my, things that are, and then another thing that I do is I schedule. Like when I first started doing these events and I wanted to do more, I found that I wanted to get it so right that sometimes I would spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months getting ready to be the most epic, awesome version of everything. So I started scheduling things my whole year in advance. No, I'm going to do, an event here. I'm going to do an enrollment here. I'm going to do lives here, things that fit my vision. I started scheduling them and then not breaking the dates, no matter what, which meant some days, man, it meant a lot of events that didn't go as well, where we got to the line, had 3 days to promote, almost canceled it, but went ahead and did it anyway. And that's been really good for my soul and for my growth, because you're in the game. I'm in the game. Then you get the learning, you get the feedback. You're actually doing the thing you say you're here to do, which is not to be perfect, but to serve people. We can't serve people if you're in your cave all the time, preparing to serve people. I know some of my prayer warriors are like, no, I'm out there, I'm serving, right? I am serving in that cave, which is true. But my vision, the thing, and then scheduling those things and then keeping my word, whether I feel like it or not, whether things are breaking down or not, whether something else came in or not, and then shrinking that. So the first year I did like an event every 3 months, and then it was like every 2 months. And then it was like 2 or 3 events in a month, at different times, which can get, when you do that, then stuff starts flying out. But that, what comes with it is a capacity, and a capacity to do it. And it also helps to have it a clear through line. Like right now, the through line is all things Napoleon Hill, right? So a clear through line, even the Diva show ended up being Napoleon Hill, makes it an interviewing thought leaders, just like Napoleon Hill, right? So that it makes it make sense in my world. And I have that same one right back there. That's a great question. So is that helpful? Is that what you were asking? And with my kids, so with my family, I haven't done this year as much because I've had a sprint season. But what I am usually rigid about is on the weeks that I have my daughter, there's nothing in the afternoon, no matter what. Once I pick her up, it's all family time. I shut everything down. Most weekends, if I have her, there's nothing. And most weekends, period, I don't put events on or tasks on. Maybe 1 a month, I'll do that. And for a few years, I was doing every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, every last week of the month off, and every last month of the year off for recovery. I'm going to put recovery, work it into this next 2024 schedule, but being rigid about it and not moving it felt awkward at first, but it actually created way more space, spaciousness. Because when you start doing great stuff like you all are doing, there's always something great to have you break your rule, right? You're like, but this is so awesome. I gotta. And
I know. Recently, I've been having a hard time getting all my meals in.
Really?
Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm eating lunch at 6 or midnight or dinner at 2. And I'm like, this has got to stop.
Because you got to start making some like your podcast is let's have a meal together. People like pour your favorite, like we're going to eat and talk. Dinner with Cynthia, lunch with Cynthia.
But when I eat on camera, I usually dunk like this. So I
too. Because you're like,
pretty. And
Yeah.
you know, you certainly don't want to pick up your head and have spinach in your teeth, but
I know. It would get
Would
more
work.
views though. It would help the algorithms. People keep playing it, right? If it did happen, you'd be all right.
on
Not
this
more
month
views
off
than
in December and your weekends off, what do you do for fun and relaxation? You're with your daughter.
Mhm.
What are you doing with her? Is she into sports? Are you going to events? Are you taking massages? Are you just sitting together, reading, watching TV, taking walks? Do you have any pets?
I do. I have 2 dogs. And so fun time when it's with my daughter is an adventure because she's 12. So
Yeah.
that means I got to figure it out. I got to like get in where I can fit in. I got to try to, and so that shifts. I mean, sometimes it's about having her friends over and doing something fun with them. Sometimes it's about us going for coffee. Lately, getting a trip away for a little bit. Sometimes she's worn out from sports and wants to snuggle and watch. Sometimes it's making a reel. You can see that on my my Instagram where we're dancing in the doctor's office and then they walked in.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll have to see
Yeah.
that. It's adorable. I could talk to you all day, but I want you to tell the audience how they can get involved with you and how they can reach you, because you're not going to believe this, but a whole hour went by.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I felt like it was 5 minutes. I mean, I feel like I'm still in the warm up to get to that.
I know.
You are
we-
amazing. It was so
oh.
much fun. So much fun. So give a little, 2-minute commercial.
Yeah. Well, I will about what's going on, but the main things I want to make sure that I land right now is wherever you are, whoever you are, that each of us are absolutely embedded with divinity, that you have a special expression that no one else can do. And the people that you can reach, the even if you're not a teacher, coach, trainer, it's, you are unique and you matter so much. And no matter what's going on, right, in your growth journey, that what I'm hearing in the marketplace and in the world right now, there's a lot of uncertainty in some places. People are wondering, real estate agents that were just writing deals right and left going, oh, am I really that great of a real estate agent? Was I really meant for this? Am I called for this or that? And kind of second guessing themselves. And I'm just feeling that I need to say, if that's you, like the world is going through that right now because we're pivoting, we're shifting, we're changing. And these are those moments that you get the courage. It's like when you go, I don't know what's next. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, but I know that I am going to figure it out. I know that I'm going to keep going. I know that I'm divinely guided. I know that it's always working out for me. I know that the next step will happen. And then you take your next best step, that on the other side of that, you find a bigger self, a more courageous self, a more fit self. And for those of you that are like, don't say bigger, I'm working on my words. But it's so just, and getting in communities of people like what Cynthia is offering here with Eric, staying in relationship with people that will remind you of who you are and that, hey, you're not the only one. And how are we going to work this out? Creating collaborations and partnerships, huge right now. It's always huge. Relationships, business, all of that is relationship, but it's a currency right now. It's a way to do more by working together, by collaborating. And yeah, so those of you that like to study and like you held up Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, we have several ways that I'm working with people right now, or we're working with people. One is the Secrets of Success Club. I think you have a link for that, Cynthia, where you can get into a community, first of all, of people that are reading and studying the original principles that not only impacted me, but millions of people. It's created the most millionaires, the book that's created the most millionaires. We're studying not just that book, but books that have never been published before by Napoleon Hill. And so we have a special offer where you can get those books for basically free. You pay some of the shipping and some of the printing costs for the other 2 books, and you get invited into a community for 30 days where we're deep diving. You meet all these other entrepreneurs, speakers, trainers, teachers, digital marketers, author, just people, great people that care about being their best and having the world be its best. Super cool. So that's one way to get into connection and collaboration. Another way, you've been reading it. I'm going to read that book, Eric. That's amazing. I just downloaded it. I just used my credit for that book. And we're reading other books. Yeah, you have access to authors from the 1800s, like the original, who is Napoleon Hill studying. It's pretty cool. Another way is if you feel like having an intimate experience with a group of people on a cruise ship and deep diving into these principles and creating collaborations, just like I did a small event in Hollywood, met Cynthia there, and Justin, Russell Brunson's partner, flew in, and Cleona O'Hara, who's now is the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Institute, and they met Don Green, and it opened a door for masterminding, thinking, collaboration. And we did another event where we went and saw Don get an award. Russell Brunson flew in on a jet. Justin was there, Cleona, and the deals were done. And so that cruise ship is the same kind of thing. Don Green will be there. Cleona will be there. I'll be there. The divas will be there. The episode's going to air on the Travel Channel. So that's something that's available. You can reach out to me for that. And you could do that. I love it on Facebook Messenger, but you could email me at Adora at adoracrystal.com. We can put that in there. But I love Facebook the most because I can see you. And then the third way is if coaching is your thing and you want to become a certified Napoleon Hill Institute coach and come learn the skill of coaching with these principles, that's what we do at the Napoleon Hill Institute. So, all right, that was like a 4-minute commercial, right?
Beautiful, perfect, absolutely perfect. Well, thank you so much. Were there any questions or anything there, Eric? Okay, well, you did a fabulous job, and I just want to talk to you more and more and more. But in the interest of the time, we have to let you go. And I know your daughter's waiting for her banana pudding.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for jumping on today. You are amazing. Let's do our chant. You are amazing.
You are amazing.
I am amazing.
I am amazing. We are amazing. Eric's mouthing it. It's probably too. Thank you so much. You guys are just, from the moment that I met you, you're a bright light and you're tall and regal and just meant to shine, and your presence brings something magnificent into the room. So thank you so much for what you're doing in the world. I love how Mark Victor Hansen was hyping you and standing with you in your launch. And I think anybody who gets to be with you is really, really blessed. So thank you so much. And Eric, really great to meet you and to spend some time with you. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
This relationship will continue to grow and flourish, and we invite you to join us and sail away on a cruise ship.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.